Hello! Today we're going to be focusing on Fernando Vicente, a Spanish-based artist based out of the city of Madrid, also born in the city of Madrid, Spain. Most notably known for creating a contemporary adaptation of classical art by utilizing the human body's anatomy and highlighting it in various angles. Without seeking the gruesomeness of blood and gore, Fernando Vicente skins and dissects open the human body, thus exposing the simplistic beauty of the pieces that is anatomy. Using anatomical-based illustrations only available to him during the 19th century, he reinvigorates it by creating his own iteration of anatomical illustrations using a female body instead. Interestingly though, the artist taunts the viewer by exposing the woman's superficial features. However, this is not Vicente's goal. This is also a common theme seen throughout all of his artworks, and Vicente wants the viewer to look beyond this, beyond the surface anatomy and the superficiality of the female, and instead would rather have the viewer delve deeper to show the true beauty of the human anatomy. This not only introduces a strong femininity to anatomical illustrations, but to art in its entirety. Today, I will be discussing or focusing on one of Vicente's specific collections, Vanitas, but he also has three other collections. The first collection is called Atlas, whose primary focus is based on the characteristics of a geographical map. The second collection is called Anatomies, which focuses on thinking of the body as a machine instead of the anatomical features of the body. The essential message behind that is that humans can be viewed as machines because we process like one. The third collection is called Venus, which is relatively similar to Vanitas in the sense that they both use anatomical explorations. Before going any further, I want to point out the most notable theme, besides the anatomical one, this collection has. Vanitas effectively uses 50s fashion, sort of like a magazine. It's the most prominent theme seen throughout all the artworks involved in this collection. The first painting we have is called Flor de Piel, which translates to in English, tattoo skin flower. This painting is a prime example of the 50s fashion theme. The way she's dressed, her hair, the fair skin, even the painting itself. You have the square border with the text Vanitas spread across the painting. It really just screams magazine, it screams fashion. For a moment, I would like to draw your attention to the posing of the female figure. As explained by Sanmiguel from his book, Art of Drawing Anatomy, he says that the drawing of the back is determined by the basic movement of the spinal column, which marks the figure's axis of symmetry. In conjunction with this is the encapsulating muscles of the posterior torso. The muscles present are the infraspinatus, rhomboids, trapezius, and latissimus dorsi that take up a majority of the back. It's this particular combination of muscles that make this overall surrounding movement responsible for the characteristic profile of the upper part of the hips. You can also see that the depression formed by the spinal column and the scapula and the muscles that make up the contours serve as essential factors to the figure's pose. And on that note, the contour of the figure created by the anatomical musculature of the back produces essential contrast with the rest of the figure, not to mention that the background is also green, which serves to emphasize the musculature of the back as well as her characteristics. It's through this that you can really see what the artist was going for. It really does emphasize the overall idea that this was supposed to be based off of 50s fashion, or sort of like a magazine, or the front cover of a magazine. Moving forward, the next painting is called Presentimiento, which to in English translates to as feeling. Before moving on to the deeper side of this painting, I want to point out the anatomical features of the body. The first feature being a muscle called the platysma, which allows you to flex your neck and attaches to the collarbone, as can be seen. The next muscle is the internal intercostals, which are the internal rib linings of the rib cage. And the last anatomical feature that we see is the heart, which has the superior and inferior vena cavas, as well as the aorta. This is actually one of the few artworks that Vicente has that shows more of a focus on the internal organs rather than the anatomical musculature of the body. I'd also like to draw your attention to the way her arms are arranged, where they depict an action where if her skin wasn't open or dissected, she'd essentially be exposing her breasts, but instead we see a dissected thoracic cavity. I also want to call back to the theme set at the very beginning, where Vicente essentially taunts the viewer by showing these explicit actions or features and how he wants the viewer to look beyond the lustfulness of the painting and see the reality that is the body, and beyond the superficiality of breasts as the human who is capable of emotion and feeling. And it certainly does beg the question of how males view women. I mean, to be honest, it's a very prominent issue in our society where women are viewed as objects and are practically objectified by a man on a day-to-day basis, especially during not only Vicente's era of time, which was during the 1980s where he was primarily inspired to make these paintings, but also the era that this painting was based on. I also want to take a moment to point out the common pattern that Vicente seems to follow besides the anatomical focus, and that theme being the globalized idea of what beauty is. And that globalized idea of what beauty is originates from ideas of westernized beauty. You have the fair skin, the beautiful face, the slender body, and the very silky, smooth hair. Yet by exposing the internals of the body, it seems to take away these features, and it really captivates the viewer's attention a lot more to the anatomical side. And it's great because artists like Fernando and Vicente are grasping anatomy from the medical world and are reinvigorating it through art. Through this, he conveys the message that beyond all the skin, beyond our personalities and our individual struggles, that we are the same organs, and the same tissues, and the same musculature. His work really does remind us, the viewer, that we are beautiful. Because we all come from the same thing. We all have the same features. I also want to thank you guys, the viewers, for really watching this. And if you guys do appreciate Fernando Vicente's art, I will be leaving his link to his website in the description below. But other than that, I hope you guys have a great day.